Everybody, this is Munson Steed, and we are on the Business Exchange, where you speak to professionals who can give you some idea of what business, the exchange really means, where they find and can give you a financial aptitude to give you some insight on who and what the possibilities are. Today, I'm really proud, thanks to Comerica, that I have this phenomenal young sister with superpower, Sheila Harton, who is a trusted advisor and truly has had a wonderful journey as it relates to financial careers. For all of you out there, it's not where you start, but where you finish in life and in your careers. Hey, Sheila, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Munson. It is a pleasure to be here to represent Comerica Bank and to be a part of our great community. Again, thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to our conversation this afternoon.
You know, when you thought, wow, I'm going to work for a bank, when you first started your journey, is that what you thought?
No, that is not what I thought. I'm just going to give you kind of the high level life of Sheila Harton. I was, at the time I started with Comerica, I was a single mother, had 3 children, had gone through a divorce, decided to go back to school. I started out as a support role for a lending group. I learned a lot there, stayed there for about 4 years, finished school, and my goal was to get out of banking completely. It was just a holding spot for me to learn some things. But then I had a female who was my credit officer at the time. She told me, she said, I think that you would do a great job, as a lender / relationship manager. And I was like, I don't think so, but she really encouraged me. And I went through the process of getting into this role. Comerica Bank has a very unique process where you can become an analyst and go through training, go through a training program. And I had the opportunity to do that. And so I've been in my current role as a relationship manager. And some people call that a lender, and that's perfectly fine. I've done this for about 17 years. I'm fortunate to be in the commercial side of the bank. So I work with business owners to provide lines of credit, real estate financing, equipment financing, things of that nature. There are a host of products and services that we can offer our business clients, but those are probably the most typical things that owners ask for. Can you help me with working capital? Can you help me buy this piece of equipment that I need because I've got a new contract? I need to be able to turn out this widget or whatever that is. And I need a place to call my own for my business and for my employees. So that's where I am today. And I'm very fortunate to be in a place where, as a single mother, I was able to work and to grow within this organization.
For just single moms or just moms in general, who are really at this moment, examining where they are at this time of the year, given that it's kind of December and they're trying to figure out career path. Do I deserve something different? Should I consider financial services? If you had to tell them, how you evaluated you're making a decision to trust another sister who saw, another woman in particular, who saw something in you, what would you share with her about making some decisions about her future? What 2 or 3 things would you give her inspiration to consider?
I would say, be honest with yourself and know your strengths. What things are you good at, and what things that you just hate altogether? When I was looking for a position, I was working as a leasing consultant for an apartment complex organization, and at that time I would pull the newspaper and go through and look at jobs, and I was like, accounting. There were a lot of accounting jobs, and I was like, I'm pretty good with math. I can hold my own. So, and I just looked and said, there are so many jobs in this area of numbers. So I thought maybe that would be a good fit for me. But I would say this beyond that, knowing yourself, know what's good for you, your strengths. Also, look at a position that's going to be beneficial to your family, to your children. All of us have to start somewhere. Maybe you have to start in a position where the hours are lousy, but you can work yourself into a place where it's better, it's a better fit for you and your family. But to be quite honest, I'm a spiritual person. So I did a lot of praying. I have a phenomenal family that was supportive, and that doesn't always mean blood kin. That can be other people in our community that come together as a family. But remember, what's important to you, have vision. Have vision, know where you want to go. Don't settle, even when people are laughing at you and telling you you're not going to make it. Again, know your strengths and know your weaknesses. Be confident in who you are and trust yourself. My mom used to always say, trust your first mind. And to me, that's trust your gut. That instinct will tell you what's right and what's not right. But above all, make sure you do what's best for your family, not for me, but for your family.
Well, I love that. And just following up on that, when you were having to make this decision to enter an industry, there was a level of uncomfortability. Why should we look and lean into things that are a little bit less comfortable for us in order to grow?
Because we have to grow. And if we stay in the same place and we're not pushed to be uncomfortable, we're not going to grow. When I was looking for a job, I went to a job fair. Comerica was there, other banks. I had my mind set on a particular company. I had maybe 15 resumes in my hand. I was on lunch. I flew into the place. I just dropped my resumes in the box. Someone from Comerica stopped me and she said, I saw you put resumes in other boxes, but you didn't come over here. I said, I have no interest in banking whatsoever. And she asked me a couple of questions and I told her, I said, I really have to go. She said, may I have one of your resumes? I gave it to her. She called me the next day. I was very uncomfortable when I started with Comerica because I'm thinking, oh, corporation, me, how would I fit into this place? And so long story short, I met wonderful people when I started. And again, women, they were like, you're going to be just fine. You're going to ask a lot of questions, you know, and you're going to work hard. And I'm like, well, I'm a hard worker. I am a hard worker because I have to take care of my children, things like that. But you need to follow your heart. And if you're not uncomfortable somewhere, you need to get uncomfortable because that means that you know everything that there is to know about a particular job. There's no additional growth for you. But in order to do that, you have to move on. And that's going to cause us to be a little bit uncomfortable sometimes, but we can do it.
Well, I love what you say and share that insight because it gives us all an idea of that growing might come with a level of uncomfortability. But there are some beautiful things about careers in finance. And so if someone's really trying to figure out what are two of the three things that you've seen as you've grown into the number of years that you've worked there, what would you say that journey has been that you've learned about yourself and about the financial industry that you had no idea about when you first started?
That's a great question. I never thought I would be able to make an impact in people's lives the way that I do. Before getting into this industry, you see businesses and you see some are successful, some maybe are not as successful, but you really don't understand what happens in the background. You know that you see an entrepreneur, oh yeah, they own their own business, but you don't understand the sacrifices that they must make in order to make their business grow. What I have learned is that I have a part to play as well as a relationship manager. I listen to people all the time because how can I understand you if I don't hear you? So to hear you is very important. And anytime I'm meeting with a prospective client or even an existing, but especially a prospective client, I have to have an attentive ear to know exactly who you are and to know where you are trying to go. And then most importantly, how can Comerica Bank be of assistance to you? One of the things that has given me great joy in this role is to see that providing a business owner with a line of credit or some other type of financing vehicle can change their business 100%. I've also learned that as a business owner, especially in the small business or mid-sized business realm, what happens to that business has a greater effect or fast effect on their employees. So a lot of times I'm meeting with business owners and they still have a role in the day-to-day process of their company. They're not away for 6 months. They're there. They're kind of involved in everything that's going on. And when things don't go as well, or, they are concerned about something that needs to be done, they always say, you know what, I've got 20, 40 people out there. And the way we go, they go. So these are my people, these are my family. So before becoming a part of Comerica Bank and especially being in this role, you take that for granted. You look at a business and say, oh, they went out of business. But it's not the business that's out of business. There are people out of business. There are children who don't have an opportunity to have holiday. There are children who don't have the things that they need. So in this role, I've learned that it's all about individuals. Every decision plays a part in a person, how they will live, and how a business owner will be able to grow their company.
I love the humanity that you've added to finance, but that young sister who really says, I'm not certain because I don't know anybody in finance that looks like me. And I'm not certain of the characteristics or the career trajectory that what are some of those places that they could land that you now, given that you're inside, can share with them that a trust advisor, and as you've grown from one station to the next inside a financial institution?
The sky is the limit. You can be whatever you want. There is education that's involved, of course. There's persistence that's involved as well. But there are more minorities than ever in the financial world. When I started, I can probably count on one hand the number of people that I saw of color. You always see more, of course, in entry-level positions or as a credit specialist. As I mentioned before, I was in that role, part of support staff, but there are more and more people. Now, I'll say this, it depends on where you want to be. Now, banking is more than just lending. It's more than deposits. We have other areas such as our international area, which takes care of letters of credit and all types of international finance. We have a woman of color that is a senior vice president in that area. And so we have people all over the place. And I think that what people should do is take a look at Comerica Bank. You can go on our website, you can see the positions that we offer, but it's very important, as you mentioned, to get to know someone at the bank. So perhaps they can help to guide you to where you want to be. I think being in this industry is very rewarding. It's rewarding in that we're able to help pull other people along. We're able just to help in our communities. We're able to help the businesses, but we're also able to help ourselves. We need to get involved in this industry because we need to understand about dollars and cents just on a low level, but we also need to learn about things like investing our dollars. We need to learn about how to share that information, again, with community and other business owners. So it is a rewarding industry to be involved in. And if it's something that you're really interested in, find someone who has walked in this path or who is still engaged in the day-to-day and ask them the questions that you want answered. I think that being at Comerica or being in any financial industry is just knowledge that will probably blow your mind, because there are some things that we think about finances that we can always learn more. When I came, I knew a lot about finances, but I learned so much more just by sitting and listening to people talk, the lenders and group managers and other people in the bank, going into loan committees. You learn so much. A lot of things when you think about it, it's like, oh, that's kind of common sense. But those things, plus your educational background and your perseverance, I think will get you to a place where you want to be. And the last thing I'll say about a career in banking is that if you start out one place and it's not a good fit for you, there's some place else in the bank that you can find, whether you're in, direct sales, or if you're in customer service or administration, there's always a place for you.
In the onset of obviously COVID, PPP hit a lot of people were trying to scramble to get it. Paperwork wasn't quite together. They didn't have a relationship with a lender at all, not even making a loan, but just to, hey, friend, how's it going? Somebody that they knew in the bank who was in the business of lending. How important is it to know your bank, or at least to know someone inside a bank, so that when that moment comes and you need help getting your paperwork together in line and to ultimately have an advocate? Can you share some insight on developing a relationship with a lender from start to finish? Because I guess we never finish unless you go out of business or sell your business and make a lot of money. But how do you formulate a relationship with the lender like yourself, someone who's a trusted advisor to an entrepreneur? How do they establish that relationship? They're trying to figure out, I think I need money, I'm not sure. How do I first start? And then
Well, I think number one is developing the relationship. A lot of times entrepreneurs think that I really shouldn't get involved with the banker until I want something. And that's not always the case. I mentor business owners. Sometimes I meet with business owners and they want something right now. We review things, and sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is not yet. Let's keep working on it. And sometimes the answer is no. But whatever the case, no matter what that answer is, you need to get to know someone, because a lot of times I speak with business owners just to give advice, or to listen what they're talking about, what's going on in their business. I still find that to be very interesting. But when it comes to being able to have that connection, relationship goes both ways. So it is important for you as a business owner, if you don't have a relationship manager, meaning a lender, then there's nothing wrong with you developing a relationship with the banking center manager, because they will see you probably more times than I will, and they have a wealth of knowledge as well. If it's something that they cannot respond to, someone will call me or another relationship manager. So you've got a relationship manager, you've got someone on our banking center team that you can interface with, but it is very important that you have a relationship with someone. And we want that because we want to be able to touch as many folk as we can in our community. But I do want to speak to just what I do on a day-to-day, again, about the relationship. You mentioned the PPP loans. That was a trial, and it was, we know that it was due to a pandemic, something we probably never thought we would ever see in our lifetime. And it was quite challenging for some business owners. And, it was something that was out of the box for us bankers as well. But for my customers and others at Comerica, we were able to assist them, providing information. And it was just a time that was just unbelievable. So it was a lot of information to be gained by everyone. But I think that you always feel more comfortable when it's someone that that you feel has your best interest at heart. And that requires a relationship. And we want to develop that. Most of my customers, I think all but 2 of my customers received PPP loans. That's because they didn't want it. So we worked hard to make sure that they received the dollars that they needed, because again, it's about keeping businesses in business, and so that they can maintain the relationship or keep those dollars moving within our communities. But also we have other people that can help as well. But it is in your best interest, even if it's not $1 that you're asking for at the time, reach out to someone and say, hey, I'm a business owner in the area and I do want to speak with someone, and I would start at the banking center. If you don't have a relationship manager in place, they will get you in contact with someone. And we don't need you to, we want you to borrow, but you don't have to. That's not the main objective. The main objective is to know who you are and to be there to support you when that time comes.
You know, the paperwork. We've got something called the paperwork project.
Yes.
What should be the paperwork that most business can anticipate a business and banking advisor is going to need to move the relationship forward?
Yes. I would plan on having tax returns. Depends on how long you've been in business. So if you've been in business 3 years or more, we would want tax returns for the last 3-year ends. Sometimes we ask for the financial statements as well for the last 3-year ends, and then an interim financial statements. We also, and this is not always, but I will be prepared to have the last 2 years of your personal tax returns available, including all schedules. And I would have a personal financial statements ready. Now, depending on what you're looking for, there may be additional information. For example, if you're looking for a working capital line of credit, and if you're saying, I've got great receivables and I want to borrow against my receivables, we may ask for copies of your account receivable agings for the last few months, payable agings. If you're looking for equipment, we may ask for an invoice. Depending also, what you're looking for, we may ask for financial projections, but that's not something that most business owners have at the ready. But I would be prepared for business tax returns, business financial statements, personal tax returns for 2 years, and a personal financial statement. I think that those are the basic things that will be asked for. And depending on the product or service that you're looking for, we may add some other things to that. But those are things that you should have available at all times, because I know as a business owner, a business owner should be reviewing that information anyway and should always have them on hand. And since we're talking about financial statements, I would like to say that it's always good for you to know your numbers. I'm not expecting you to be a CPA, but you should understand certain things about your numbers, what's happening in the company, what is propelling your sales, or if you're on the other side, what has caused your sales to go down. So it's very important to have those financials available and ready if you are ready to apply.
Your mastermind group, as a business owner and a banker, who should be in a business owner's mastermind group when they're prepared? And obviously the banker's one. Who else would you want to see that it's there if they don't have a board? But who would you suggest that they need to have based on paperwork, the people that should be in a basic business owner's life?
You should have an attorney. You should have a CPA, and maybe not a CPA, but a good bookkeeper, depending on the size of your company. Those are 2 individuals plus your banker. I think that rounds out your trusted advisors. You should probably have a mentor. I think that's always important, because perhaps you can find someone who has been successful in running a business, maybe someone that's retired, and you can admire them and they can share best practices with you. I always think it's important to have someone that you can talk to that's where you want to be, and maybe someone even that's outside of your generation because of the technology and things like that. I think that's very important these days, but definitely a banker, a finance person, someone who's going to help you prepare your financials and walk you through those financials. So that could be a CPA, bookkeeper, and your attorney. I know that sometimes when I talk to business owners, they'll say those things cost money. I said, well, guess what? You want to know now instead of when something goes awry. You want to make sure that those contracts that you're looking to do and those companies that you want to do business with, you want to make sure that those are advantageous for you as well. And your CPA will obviously give you direction, with what's right in the numbers and taxes and things like that. So I think that's important. And of course, as a banker, we're going to tell you, what's doable, what's not doable, what we're looking for. And we want to know how you're going to get there. I mean, all bankers are curious people. We want to know if you're saying, oh my God, I've got this great contract that's going to bring in $1 million, to my top line. We're like, who is it? What is it? What are the terms? So if you can get those people on board, I think you have a greater chance of being successful as a business owner.
The outset, you talked about how you had a mentor. Individuals are at this time of the year, obviously, for us, when we talk about peace and purpose, you need a mentor to help you understand and be at peace with the future of where you're trying to go, and then to add purpose. Why is a mentor, and obviously for you now, given that you've been in the industry the length of time, why is being a mentor important, and why is having a mentor important to career and business development?
I'll talk about being a mentor first. I think it's so rewarding and it's an honor to be able to help guide a person to where they want to be, especially when they reach out to you, because that means that they honor who you are and they believe that you will give them the best possible advice, good or bad. Not bad advice, but you can kind of look at them and provide information to them that will help them. And sometimes you have to be a little critical, but you have to do that, in a loving and kind way. Because if you're mentoring me, I want it all. I want you to tell me what I need to do, what I did wrong, and what can I do to better myself. So we have to do that. My mentor, I have 3 mentors. One is she's a very gentle, very insightful woman who's been in business for a very long time. And we talk about things that are more women-based, how do I pivot? How do I move from place to place? But then my number 1 mentor is a gentleman, older, probably about 30 years older than me. He's very tough. And I like that because I want someone to keep me on my toes. And he's always telling me, you can do better because you are better. I can see you in this role. And then sometimes I'll say, no, but I don't see myself there. He said, because you need to see yourself bigger than what you are. So I think that as a mentor, it goes back and forth, developing relationships with people who can help us. And in helping, a person has to see in you what you sometimes don't see in yourself. And they have to remind you of who you are and what your gifts and talents are, and to push you forward. And as you receive, you give. I receive that. And so I give that to be a mentor to someone else.
So if you were giving a graduation speech to someone, Wayne State, Clark, Morehouse, Howard, Spelman, Fisk, if you were doing, any of the HBCUs, and you were going to give a graduation speech about financing your future and the role that finance will play in your future, what would the title of your speech be? And what would the 3 things that you would challenge them to do as they moved that very day into a future that they have not seen?
I would tell that it would probably be something about planning for the future or remember the future. And I would tell them, don't spend every dime that you make. My former pastor used to tell us, save 10%, give 10%, live on 80%. And so that's very simplistic for us these days. But I would tell them that they cannot work all their lives, that they need to make plans right now, something that maybe I didn't do, or the generation before me, because they didn't have the wherewithal. They were living from, paycheck to paycheck. But as you start your career, start saving day one and save as much as you can. And if you have an employer that's matching, max out. You can give up some of the luxuries of life to make sure that you have a grand end. You want to be able to have a future, and you want to be able to retire so that you can still enjoy life and have some of the things that you so desire. So I don't know if that's three, but that would be my speech, and that would be my advice.
So, that's a wonderful segue into the need for adults to constantly financially educate themselves. Why is financial education, given crypto and everything else that's out there, why is educating yourself on insurance and banking and deposits so important to the future of a family and a business person each and every day?
Because if you don't plan, if you don't get involved and get educated, 10 years flies by so fast. And if you start saving today, or if you wait 10 years from now, there's a huge disparity in what you can have. Education is number one for anything. And so for us to understand how our money will work for us, things change, life changes. You mentioned insurance. Oh my goodness. That is something that we all need to, it's just unbelievable that people don't have insurance, and that it's not even just life insurance and things like that, but just insurance on some of our property and things of that nature. But we need to understand that we have to make our money work for us. And if we're going to be educated, the education will remind us of goals. It makes you sit down and really put some thought to your money. What's going to happen to me in 5 years, 10 years from now? Do I want to leave money for my children? Do I want to do this or that? So if we're not educating ourselves, time just goes by so quickly. And by the time you sit down and really think about it, how long has it been since you probably would have benefited greater had you taken the opportunity to have that conversation with yourself or with a trusted advisor years before? And so I think that with education, not just, we know that education brings knowledge, but also can bring prosperity to us. Prosperity doesn't always mean, what's in the bank, but it also gives you comfort to know that you have done what was best, that you are a good steward over the resources that you have. And so we all need to refresh ourselves, or sometimes we need to just find out from the beginning. As young people, I have 3 young folk too, and it's always the same thing. Have you read? Are you involved in 401k? Have you done this or that? What are you looking for? Are you looking to retire at 55, 60, or whatever that age is? But learn, and don't be ashamed to refresh. Always go back and say, hey, is there a better way? Can I get more out of this? What's going on? And I think that if we do that, we will be so much better off, because generational wealth is built by being educated and following that education, putting that into purpose, and being able to leave our families in a place where they are better off at the end. And that's really my goal. I want my children to be better off because of me. I want them to learn. And that's another great point too, I think, for our children. If we are educated in the ways of finances, we pass that information on to the next generation. And we will hopefully be in a place where we can afford college and things of that nature. I know that's probably longer than what you were anticipating for an answer, but I just think it's so important.
Well, now you made it plain and visible. And I think that you mentioned something that I want to close out on. Your money working for you. What does that mean for those individuals who are at that moment and they're trying to understand why savings and investing are 2 words that can exist if you aren't worried about having your money working for you? But what is the benefit of money working for you? And what does it mean for those who can't see it?
It means that I'll just put it in kind of in just the basic. It means that 5 years from now, if you're, I'll go back to being a single mom or parent or whatever that is. Maybe in 10 years from now, you're able to support your child as they go off to school. Maybe that means in 30 years from now, you can retire with the ability to take a trip here or there, or even do that right now before you get to that point. Your money working for you it means to me that you have worked for it, but you have to be responsible in making sure that there is something available for yourself, not even necessarily for your children. You need something for yourself. You have to come to the conclusion or make a decision. You know, first of all, I think everyone is able to save something. If you have $10, save $1. Make a conscious effort of that. And if you fall off the wagon, oh, something came up, I wasn't able to put any money away for a month, get right back on it. It's no harm in that. But making that money work for you means that you are looking at the future. You know that there's something that's coming, that you will need some of these resources, that some things that you're looking, that you want to do now, or things that you want right now can really wait a little bit. Put that money away, find out a better way to, if I've got $50,000 in my savings account, hey, maybe I can get something else. Maybe there's another investment vehicle that I can get that's gonna help me get more money off of my money. And to me, that's my money working for me. And so let's go back to the banking center manager. Let's get back to the relationship manager. Hey, how do I help myself and get that money to work for me? And so that's what we have to do as a community. Every dollar should not be spent that we have. Let's put some in the savings. Let's put some away as investments for future. Future for me, future for my family. And I think that if we do that, we will be so much better off.
Excellent, excellent, excellent job. Really appreciate you coming on the Business Exchange and sharing with us. Obviously, for those who are looking at peace and purpose, this is that moment, this is that time. Sheila, you've done a phenomenal job, and I just
Oh,
want to
thank
thank you
you.
for all the insight that you've given us and the possibilities for careers in both finance and obviously being a super sister and a super mom, giving us a vision of what it's like to be financially educated, good
Yeah.
stewards for the community, and a mentor in helping our community to have access and grow. And really, thanks to you and Comerica for all you do. I'm Untitled Steed, and I'm here with this VP of Business Banking, Sheila Horton, my favorite, Montgomery for some that don't know. We really appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. It was an awesome pleasure.